BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to another broadcast about your Kundalini Awakening experience. I'd like to wish everyone a Happy New Year. This is January 8th, 2014. I wish and I hope for all of you who are listening to this right now or in the future in the archives, a beautiful, wonderful, happy, enlightened 2014. And I would just like to say at this time that for those of you who are new to this program, there are other vectors of information. There's a YouTube that gives you about almost 300 videos on your Kundalini Awakening experience, and that is at chrism.kundalini on the YouTube network. There's also Kundalini Awakening Systems, .com, and that's all one word, and you can reach that just by writing that into Google. It'll take you right there. There's also groups on Yahoo called Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo Groups, and a group on Facebook called Kundalini Awakening ! As well as Kundalini Healing, which is on both the Facebook and the Yahoo networks. And we have a few announcements, and I'd like to bring Her Holiness Amelia Santara on to make her announcements. Hello, Amelia Santara. Hello.
Hi, hello, Chris, and Happy New Year to you and to everybody listening. It's good to be here. I'm really looking forward to today's topic and to hearing what it'll be about. My announcements have to do with, first of all, the seminars that are coming up in the new year. I am organising 2 seminars, and Rosemary is organising another seminar in September. So let me speak about mine to begin with. The seminars that I'm organising are happening in March, on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. And this seminar is taking place in New York. And I'm really looking forward to meeting people in New York from the East Coast, because I know a few people who are going to come by bus and different modes of transport into New York, and that's good. That's a very exciting thing to be having the seminar on the East Coast. It's our first time having a Kundalini Awakening seminar in that part of the United States. So if you have an interest in coming to New York and meeting with Chrism and meeting with other Kundalini Awakening people, please write to me and let me know of your interest in attending. And my email is kundalinimatters@gmail.com. And then the following weekend, Chrism will be flying from New York to Ireland, and the following weekend we have a European seminar, and that takes place in Dublin, or rather County Meath, which is just 30 minutes from Dublin Airport. So for those of you interested in flying in from Europe, it's actually quite a short distance from the airport to where the venue is, and transport will be arranged. And the dates for that again are the 29th and the 30th of March. So again, if you have an interest in that, please do write to me at kundalinimatters@gmail.com. So that's it.
Thank you, Amelia Santara. Thank you. And I'm going to hand this over to Rosemary, and she's going to give you some information about the seminar that's going up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, United States.
Thank you, Chrism, and hello, particularly to anybody from the Midwest, first of all, and throughout the United States. Chrism will be coming to Minneapolis, St. Paul, next September 27th and 28th, and we have a few people there, like myself, that are part of the Kundalini community. And we're welcoming others also. We look forward to a great group. We have the place set, and they are very kind and gracious for us, and you'll have more information.
Thank you, Rosemary. Yes, we do have a few of the seminars set up, and I would like to thank Rosemary and Amelia Santara for being the point people and for really creating this out of the essence of their own love and their own Kundalini Awakening expression. So thank you both. If you want to make a donation for the work that's done here. As you know, I don't charge people for Shaktipad and for giving out this information. If you want to make a donation to keep us going, you can do so at Ascension-Kundalini at blogspot.com. And if you just put in Ascension Kundalini into Google, it'll pretty much lead you right to that blog. But it is on Blogspot, and you'll see a donation button up in the upper right-hand area of that page on the blog. So if you'd like to make a donation for what we're doing here, it would be much appreciated. Thank you. It's not required, however, and you don't get more Kundalini if you give more money. It just doesn't work that way. But any kind of kind, considerate donation is gratefully welcomed. Today, let's go ahead and get right into our talk here, our conversation. Amelia, can you come online again? Can you come on the mic?
Yes, Chrism, I'm here.
Yeah, I can't see the chat room. So if you can, if anybody's in the chat room, if you can kind of, relay a question that they may have to me, because I can't see it, and feel free to interrupt me. It's fine. But I would, to answer any of those questions, I'll need you to relay them. Can you see the chat group?
Yes, I can indeed, Chrism, and I've already invited people to write in. So let me welcome Suka and Linda and all the different guests. There's about 7 or 8 guests at the moment, plus those others. So indeed, I will relate any questions or comments to you, Chrism.
Thank you, Amelia. And if anybody would like to call in, the number is United States area code 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. Well, I would like to welcome everyone to this Kundalini conversation. I'd like to welcome those in the chat room. Even though I can't see you, I know that you are there, and I appreciate your attendance as we do this in a live format. And any questions that you may have for those of you in the chat group, feel free to either write them out, and Amelia will relay them to me, or you can call in at 347-934-0026, and you and I can discuss your question. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody who is listening to this in the archives. Thank you for joining us in the archives. All right. As with most, not all, but most, I would say 90-95% of the conversations we're having here, I typically am not given any indication from the Kundalini where the conversation's going to go, what the title of the conversation's going to be, these types of things. Much of this is extemporaneous, except Kundalini is not extemporaneous. It's just not choosing to give me that information right off the bat. But I do know one thing that the Kundalini, in me at least, is interested in talking about, and that is within the Kundalini awakening situation, especially if it hasn't come to you like you haven't had a difficult childhood, or you haven't had a lot of karmic preparation for the Kundalini to come. It can be more difficult for you than for the person that had the difficult childhood or the difficult karmic balances that occur in the early years and the teen years before a person is allowed, really to be free, at least in the United States. I don't know how it would be in Africa or, the Africa or the China or something, but or somewhere. But if you're being called to the Kundalini and you didn't go through any of these early, very, very difficult things, some of your karma will be difficult, and it is supposed to be. Some of these difficult experiences within the Kundalini are there to condition your soul, condition your body, condition your ego into becoming more refined so that you can have and hold a Kundalini activation. Many of the ancients will say, oh, hey, awakening the Kundalini is easy. Holding it and keeping it in your life is what can be very, very difficult because the Kundalini knows you. It sees right into you, sees right into your whole life equation, why you even have a life. And it allows you to begin purposeful, concentrated karmic balancing. And this means that difficulties will be coming your way. Not because you've done anything bad, not because this is evil, not because this is bad, not because of any of those false reasons. It's because you need to balance that karma. What has been given must be received. What has been received must be given. As above, so below. As within, so without. And so the karmic balancing that the Kundalini brings to a person is based in the separation and the blending of the two that are one and the one that is two. If you look at it from a Taoist standpoint, you know the two little teardrops chasing each other. One's white with a black eye and one's black with a white eye. Well, Kundalini people stand on the edge of the coin that would be the Tao. We stand on that thin edge. Some of you in the States have heard, that thin dime. Well, that's a 10-cent coin for those of you that aren't in the United States. And we have a saying here, you can't stand on the rim of that thin dime. And well, that's where the Kundalini places us. We stand on the rim of the thin coin that is the Tao. And as we're standing on the edge of that coin, our Kundalini karma is coming up for us, given to us by our Kundalini, so that we can find our balance by honoring the message and the teaching that karma gives. You may not know how you may have made others suffer, or how you suffered in other lifetimes before you come into this expression. And you don't need to know. All you need to know as you are pursuing the Kundalini, and as you are doing the practice, as you're doing and I'm going to quote things from our from the practices that we teach within Kundalini Awakening Systems 1. As you do your service, as you do your surrender, as you do your tolerance, your honesty, your compassion, your healing, as you do these things, karmas will come up that are directly related to what it is you're doing within your equation. So, for instance, you're walking down the street and a man collapses with a heart attack. And you're all of a sudden you're faced with a choice. Do you help this person, or do you walk on by hoping that the appropriate help will reach this person? Okay? Within a Kundalini context, you're being given a choice to give and to serve a fellow human being within compassion and grace and love and service. And if you walk by that karma that you just created may come back to haunt you later on in your Kundalini awakening process. And so I really want you to look twice at that man who is laying down on the sidewalk. And I don't care if other people are around him and assisting him. The very least that a Kundalini person can do is to stand there and let the Kundalini reach into this man, reach into him. And even if you're just standing there saying prayers, we'll pretend that you don't know any first aid. You don't know how to help a person with a heart attack or a potential heart attack. If you stand there and you pray to the Kundalini to help this man, you are indeed giving of first aid in a spiritual context. You are indeed giving this person service from a spiritual Kundalini refinement context. So there are many, many ways, not always, putting in a physical hand and, direct pressure on a bleeding organ. It's not always that way. Sometimes the person has the appropriate help or has other people around them helping them, but you just need to stand there and let your Kundalini into the equation. This not only communicates to you that, oh, hey, I'm giving this person some service. The Kunalini also sees that you made a choice. You made a choice out of your busy day or whatever you're doing to see to the safety and the comfort and the assistance of a fellow human being. And this is a big deal. This kind of selfless love, big deal within the Kundalini context. So know this and remember this. And even as you pass an accident on the freeway or the highway, say a prayer for those people. Say a prayer for those police and those ambulance drivers or those firefighters. Say a prayer for them to your Kundalini to help them, and then just release from it. Don't watch to see if it works. You don't have to follow the ambulance to the hospital to see if your Kundalini prayer worked on that patient. You'll probably get a ticket for following that ambulance too close anyway. So don't look to see for acute physical validation that your prayer has worked or that your Kundalini energy has indeed revived that individual or not. Trust that your Kundalini has given that person what they need to have. Trust in that commitment that the Kundalini has with you and that hopefully you have with the Kundalini. So there's that. And if you have any questions about this, the number is 347-934-0026. Feel free to ask any questions with regards to that. Right now, I would like to talk about commitment. And some of these commitments that I'm going to talk about are not consciously made by people pursuing Kundalini. All they know is that they must do a certain thing. And they don't know why. They don't know about Kundalini. They don't know anything. They just know that they must do a certain thing. And in this case, I have a guest here, a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful person. You've heard her many times on this program. Her name is Rosemary Goliath, and she was a Catholic nun for 25 years. She left at her house, her home, her family, at the age of 16 to join a convent and to become a person who has the intention of becoming a Catholic nun. And I would like to welcome her to this radio program. Hello, Rosemary.
Hi there, Chrism, and all our listeners and those in the archives as well. Happy New Year.
Rosemary, as you were growing up, did you all of a sudden just have the idea that you were going to be a Catholic nun? I mean, did you see it in a dream? Had you wanted to do that since you were a baby? I mean, tell us a little bit about that.
No, it was not like that. I was in high school and was taught by the sisters whose community I joined. And there were classmates of mine that had been there, some of them from other parts of the state, like a boarding school. And they came as intending to become sisters at the end of high school. I was in that setting. I knew about that. It wasn't anything that was there for me, urging me to do. Until in the later part of my senior year, when my classmates took that really formal step and got a simple habit, that clothing that they wore, and something in my heart it was just as Chrism is saying, you know something. You don't have I didn't have any logical reason. My mother thought I was in all kinds of difficulty of what in the world was going on, because I didn't tell her until 10 days before either. And I didn't ask the sisters to receive me either until 10 days, which is very unusual. But they knew me there from being a student. So that's how it was. And I wasn't sure at that time of my going if God was really serious or if I was going to stay there. I knew that this beginning step was essential, and I am grateful that I did that. And then there was within those next 6 months where all of a sudden I said, yes, this is for real. I am going to stay here. And I was there, got trained as a teacher and did that, and then did some chaplaincy work also. And then likewise, similarly, and just as much a mystery, is that it was time for me to leave there. And it was like there was something more for me to find. And that's the simplest way that I know how to say that.
Did you have any kind of dreams or anything of a Kundalini nature that may have occurred while you were as a nun? I mean, did you have serpent dreams, or did you dream of angels? Did you dream of giving people healing? What may have occurred for you, if anything?
No, there wasn't anything like that. I would say I was aware of, in some way, of God's guidance. And Chrism, you've referred to that a number of times about what that time has given me, and that's given me a great appreciation for it now, which I didn't see then. But now in the Kundalini process, I see that was to be part of my process.
Well, I have to say that, just judging from my own observation of your progress and your process, you're doing very well. You're moving quickly. You're moving solidly into your process, and it's very validating to see you do that. What attracted you to Kundalini at all?
I can't. That's not anything that was logical or that was clear. Even then, I had heard the word Kundalini before, just once, and then I saw an article by Chrism in a magazine in St. Paul, and it was about service, and I said, oh, I think I like that. That makes sense. And Eileen was in town here, bless her. Thank you, Eileen. And I called her. I registered. I went to an evening the night before that Chrism had, and I just showed up.
And blessings that you did show up too. Now during this seminar or after the seminar, how have things changed for you?
I think the one thing, there's some structure in my life in which doing the practice that you had suggested and keeping in touch with you as well, and asking to be your student and receiving your guidance. And as that's continued, and from the beginning, a deeper sense of God within me, with that my head knowledge always knew that God is there. I remember teaching students. I taught a number of things in high school. One of them was religion one time for 2 years, and telling them that how much we were connected to God, and if we weren't and God forgot us, I'd be looking out and there'd be a pile of clothes sitting on their chair. That would be it. So I've always known that, but that's more head knowledge. And it just, that Chrism, your teaching and your guidance and direction for me has provided experiences where I have connected in that way to the God within.
And let's be clear that it's the Kundalini that is helping you. It is the Kundalini that you're awakening. I mean, certainly from the level of the seminar, it's easy to place a face. You have my face. You saw me at the seminar. I gave you the Shaktipat and all these things, and here you are here, and we're talking face to face this way. How have the practices that I've given for you to do helped you to experience those the phenomena and the connections that you talk about?
I think the mantras that you've given me and remembering the aspects of our life, the 5 bodies, and in the prayer of those mantras of I surrender, and carrying those over into other times as well, and the commitment to it, morning and evening, and sometimes it's the last thing I want to do, and I don't think I even have the energy for it. But I know it tells me how important it is, even if for a moment I think it's not.
Well, no, I understand that, because we all have those days when we just don't feel like practicing. For me, during my early part of getting this body inundated, this physical form inundated with Kundalini, not the Kundalini that I was born with from a previous life, but the Kundalini that this body needed to have activated and awakened within it, I was praying and I was doing the 5 Tibetans. I was basically doing the safeties 5 times a day. And very, very, very sincerely, and I didn't care if people saw me out in the park. I'd go out in the park with a blanket or a little rug that I had so that I wouldn't get all the stickers in me. And I'd do the 5 Tibetans, and I'd go right, just as you see me do in the videos on YouTube with regards to doing the 5 Tibetans and then doing the practice after you do the 5 Tibetans, which I encourage all those interested to go and watch. They're not very long, but they do help. I forced myself to do this too, and I want to honor you, Rosemary, for forcing yourself. Even though you were tired, it shows a diligence and a dedication to your process that isn't easy to come by. Amelia, how are my friends on the chat group doing?
Hi, Chrism. There are more guests after joining us, but so far nobody has made a comment or is asking a question.
Okay, all right. Well, hello, the new guests, and hello, everybody. I wish I could see you like I normally can, but my other laptop's not set up. So welcome, and thank you for listening. Feel free to ask a question if you like in person. Give us a call at 347-934-0026.
Chrism, can I just say it was fascinating, Rosemary, it was fascinating listening to your story about how you became a nun, because I was also raised in the Roman Catholic tradition, born and bred a Roman Catholic, and as you probably know, as you definitely know, we were brought up with a belief that to become a priest or a nun was a calling from God. And, I had read stories about how people were called by God through visions and such. And I always, as a child, I used to have visions. And, I always had a very deep inner connection to God as a child. And when I read stories like that in my teenage years, I was absolutely terrified that I would receive a call from God in the form of a vision to become a nun, because I so did not want to become one, Rosemary.
Yes.
And I thought, if I received this calling, oh hell, I really believed I was going to have to become a nun. And I think part of the reason I didn't want to be a nun was because of the celibacy, and not being able to have children, and that was a huge thing for me. But the calling from God, was something I think that I had all along, except in those days, it was only in the context of the Catholic aspect. And it took a much longer time for me to realize there are different, I was called in a different way. And that's how then, the Kundalini and all of that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Amelia. And that is so true. In those times, it's not now, of course, thank heavens, but in those times, it was so exonerated with the Catholic population, maybe outside the Catholic population too, that was a superior way to follow God. And we are all called by God for a life that is given to us, and maybe we could say designed for us. Yeah, and of great, that one is the one for us. Thank you.
I agree, Rosemary.
And in that same context, Kunalini is that direct hand of the divine on your shoulder, in your spine, in your tailbone, activating and changing and transforming you. If you notice, the most common action in the multiverse is the action of change. Change is always occurring. Transformation is always occurring. With the Kundalini, the level of transformation can be explicitly faster than the typical life after life after life that a person may have been subjected to before the Kundalini awoke. Now your karma is in real time with you now. Now you're not waiting to die and then processing the life that you have just left and then sculpting the new life to handle the karmas that were created and the karmas that have been in existence from the previous life, the life that you had before you lived that life and passed away. And so as the Kundalini comes into a person's experience and equation, the level of difficulty can increase. Because it is a real-time, in your life, in your face, in your body experience right now, it can take on huge proportions compared to how your normal life has been up to this point. So, you go to, you're born, you're raised, you go to school, you go through all of the changes that occur for a human being, and you reach adulthood, and you're educated, you get a job, you do this, and that. And your life is somewhat, if the Kundalini hasn't come to you sooner, your life has reached a level of your participation where you're fairly organized and fairly cogent of what it is you do in this world, how you make money, where do you live, how do you express love, who do you help, if anyone, how do you feel about the government, the environment, the scholastic issues, all of these things. And then Kundalini comes in and really, really begins to accelerate your placement, your personal placement within the multiverse. And the reason why I say multiverse is because it isn't a universe. If you look at the Hubble Space Telescope, for crying out loud, you look at the deep field picture, and you can see lots of little Milky Ways out there. Okay, and there is one physical plane, but there are many verses within that physical plane. So I usually use the plural multiverse. With the Kundalini, your complacency with life will be changed. It won't be eliminated. Your complacency won't be eliminated, but challenges will be given, and they should be given. When I wrote the safeties, I was basically concerned about Kundalini syndrome. The safeties. This one guy came to the second seminar I ever put on, and I wasn't sure about giving him Shaktipat, but I went ahead and did it anyway, and I saw the result, and the result was not pretty. And he wasn't violent or he didn't hurt himself or his family or anything, but he became very, 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 he just had some issues. Issues that he didn't need to have had. If I had not done that, and he had more time for refinement, things could have gone a little bit easier. He was not. He did get some raised welts on his spine, but and those went away the very next day. So it was not anything that was lasting on a physical level, but there were plenty of things that were lasting on the mental and emotional level. And yes, indeed, his family had to deal with that as well as his employees and friends. So this is what I'm trying to relate to you right now, is that you will encounter greater levels of difficulty as your awakening continues. Okay? Kind of look at yourself as, say, an Olympic springboard diver. And you do this beautiful swan dive into the pool, and you barely make a ripple as your body goes into the water. And wow, you get 9, 9, 9s or 10s or whatever, judges. But the degree of difficulty is only say 1. But now if you add to that swan dive 2 flips and a twist, well, the degree of difficulty just went up to 3 or 4. and then you multiply that times 10 or whatever the judges give you, and that gives you that higher score. And the Kundalini will increase your degree of difficulty with regards to the problems and issues that it will present for you as you continue the Kundalini path. It's not supposed to always be easy. Matter of fact, I was talking with a student earlier today, and we're talking about some dreams that she had. And basically, the information that her Kundalini was giving to her through the dream life is that it will not always be easy. Sometimes you must suffer. But if you know what you're suffering for, it makes that suffering so much more worth it. You'll jump into that suffering just in order because you know what this is giving you. You know what this is bringing you. And you'll go from the frying pan into the flame, and you'll be washing yourself in those embers. Happily so. Okay? So don't expect a smooth, easy ride in every aspect of your Kundalini awakening equation, because it won't happen. I hope it doesn't happen anyway. It is my hope that you have to suffer a little bit, maybe even a lot, depending upon your karma, in order to refine yourself in the physical real time, right now, present moment. Refine yourself towards holding on to the Kundalini in a much greater level of acceptance and surrender and serenity. You can be serene even as you suffer. If you know what you're suffering for, it doesn't necessarily take the suffering away. I mean, there's certain factions of the unknown that always lend fear into any equation. And if you know it and you can take that fear out of the equation, well, you can still suffer. If that's what your Kundalini is calling for, you can still suffer and you can still have that refinement. Remember, karmic balancing is not always easy. Karmic balancing is about detoxing your karmic history. And many of the ancient sources will tell you, you will pay your karma every little piece. Nothing is forgotten. Nothing is forgiven. Did you hear me say that? Nothing is forgotten and nothing is forgiven, i.e., you don't get to have your karma removed because you did a good deed. You get to have your karma removed when you balance that karma, i.e., you meet the karma. You embrace the karma. And by embracing and meeting that karma and doing whatever that karma equation requires of you, you're able to manifest neutrality within those two forces. So the positive has met the negative, and your karma for that one situation has been balanced, and you move forward into the next level of karma or into the next aspect of the Kundalini equation that your Kundalini is giving to you. Okay? If anybody has any questions about this aspect of the Kundalini awakening experience, please feel free to call in at 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. I would like to say a little bit about Rosemary as she's here. She's right in front of me, and now she's starting to cringe a little bit. Legs are crossed, and the arms are crossed in front of her. Her hand is over her mouth, and she's kind of going, oh, geez, what's he going to say? Rosemary has been an absolute delight to have here. She flew out here from her really cold home in Minnesota right now on the 2nd of January. She flew out here, and I picked her up, and we drove back home. And already, she's in the room, she's in the ashram, she's doing the work, she's doing her practice 3 times a day. I have her doing a practice. I mean, when you come to the ashram, don't expect to just sit around and enjoy the radiance, because you can't do that. Don't get me wrong. There are times when you can do that, but most of the time, even as you soak up that radiance is going to push your equation. That radiance is going to push your equation, and by pushing the equation, I mean it is going to compel you to do more work on yourself, to do more work with your Kundalini, to do more sincere surrendering to your Kundalini, to the Kundalini teacher if necessary. Okay. Rosemary, as she sits here, I mean, she is a wonderful, she's so considerate. She's considerate to a fault. If she thought that passing you on a staircase would cause you inconvenience, she would tie a rope off the balcony and shimmy down the rope in order to get to the ground floor rather than pass you on the stairs, if you see what I mean. So we've had some conversations about that, but by and large, she is just doing wonderful. We've gone to the Kundalini Forest, which also goes by the name of Armstrong Redwood Preserve. So if any of you want to Google that, these are the tallest trees in the world, which is why I call them the Kundalini trees, because the Kundalini is the most powerful energy and consciousness in this world, having created the physical plane through the divine induction from the all that is. If any of you who are listening in the chat room have questions about this, or you'd like to come out and visit the ashram, stay at the ashram for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, as Rosemary's doing, feel free to give us a call at 347-934-0026. And Santara, can you tell us a little bit about how things happen for you when you're out here at the ashram?
Hello, Chrism. Hi. Well, I flew from Ireland to the ashram. I've been there a couple of times, and each time that I come there is different to the previous time, even though in essence I do the same things in lots of ways. As Chrism says, I would have had a practice that I would have done while I was there. I definitely enjoyed the radiance, which is very, very special to be with the teacher. But one of the things that does occur, you were talking there about being pushed, and it comes, for me, actually going there came as a push for my own Kundalini to go and visit Chrism and the ashram. And once I got there, other things became pushed because of being in the radiance of Chrism, because of many, many, many things. And so things, while I was there, came up for me to deal with. I mean, you were speaking about refinement. I mean, a lot of refinement, I think, opportunities for refinement arise while you're in the ashram. And actually, when you come back, that process, when you come back home, that process continues to occur. Going to the ashram, for me, has made a big difference to my Kundalini unfolding and my development, Chrism. In so many ways, I hardly know where to start. Yeah, I mean, I don't. The safeties, though, I just want to say that the safeties, I know that you're speaking about the safeties in terms of Kundalini syndrome and all of that, but the safeties for me are like an anchor, are like something that is an anchor within the refinement, because those are the things that I use in order to help me in a way through the refinement. They're the things that keep me grounded in a way and able to move through refinement, if that makes sense. So I pick and choose them as different things come up for me to be refined. So in other words, forgiveness might be the thing that I particularly need to work on at a particular time, or tolerance. And once I became aware of the safeties and using them, I'm going back a bit now, but really using them. I hear you saying, I do the safeties 4 times a day or 5 times a day, but really, I sort of do them all the time, if that makes, okay, you can only do the Tibetans really so many times a day.
You can't do the 5 Tibetans all the time.
Yeah, exactly. But the other things, the other elements of, the emotional safeties and the other elements of the safeties, those things can be used all the time.
Things, yes, you can do all those. You can do the emotional safeties, the mental safeties, Even the ego safeties, all the time, as you say. Well put, Amelia. Well put.
Yeah.
Rosemary, do you have a comment about that?
Yes, I'm thinking of that, particularly forgiveness, as you were saying that, Amelia, and have shared that with my family in an ordinary setting, and how quickly, simplest thing of sitting in the airplane, something happens, and to be able to forgive and be released, and there's immediately energy and the love back again. I probably that's the thing that I'm most grateful for, that I've learned from Chrism, and just looking over the past. That was part of my journey since the seminar.
And I would like to interject something in here, that it doesn't matter how old you are or young you are. I had this body received Kunalini in a big way at the age of 30. How old were you, Amelia, when it really came up?
Oh my goodness, 2007. So I was.
You were like 18?
Short. Oh, yes, of course. I don't know how old. I was 19.
No worries. You don't have to count it. You're using your fingers. I can tell.
I was 37, Chris. I was 37.
Here's Rosemary.
No, I was 47. I don't know.
Well,
How old were you when you came to the seminar?
71, 70, 71, I think.
And how do you feel as you're doing your practice now?
I
just feel who I am. I don't feel my age. I don't, and I'm healthy. I have no medication. I don't look even my age. So I feel, I am rejuvenated.
What happened to you last night with your Kundalini?
Oh, I was sleeping under a couple comforters since I've come here. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the night, I woke up and I was hot. And I said, oh, my goodness, that's some progress. And that's all I knew when I went back to sleep.
Is that normal for you to have heat like that?
No, not at all.
So this, oh, boy, let me, hope I didn't take myself out of here. There we are. Hello. Amelia, could you, or actually, people in the not in the archives, in the chat group, is the sound quality coming through? Could you ask them that, Amelia, if they're not hearing me?
I will. I do that.
Yeah. Okay. So I wanted them to say that simply because there is no age limit. I mean, yeah. If you're an infant, you may have a difficult time doing the 5 Tibetans if you haven't learned to crawl or walk yet. So there is somewhat of an age difference there. If you're 98 years old, you're infirmed, you have Alzheimer's, you have diabetes, and you've had 2 of your lower limbs amputated, it might be hard to do the 5 Tibetans or any of the, some of the other things. But it's never difficult to do the emotional safeties. Yes, Amelia?
Yes, the sound is coming through. They say it's good, it's fine.
Oh, my gosh. Well, wonders never cease. Thank you,
No, perhaps this is a new thing for 2014. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, we can hope. Okay, there's something else. There's another phenomena. This is a phenomena subject that I'd like to talk about. And one of the students is experiencing this right now. And it's a fairly common phenomena within Kundalini phenomena, and this is seeing the Eye of Horus. The Eye of Horus is an Egyptian symbol that will occur on the left eye only. It is a very stylized symbol of an eye in an Egyptian format. This is another symbol of the Kundalini as it communicates itself to you. So if some people will just see that eye appear in front of them, out of the blue, Nobody else will see it but them. Okay? And if you look up the Eye of Horus, that's Horus, on Google, and then you look at the images, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. This is a representation of the Kundalini. Don't let anybody tell you different. A lot of people that don't have Kundalini, you know, they'll come up with an idea of what it's supposed to mean, and you may look in Wikipedia, and Wikipedia will tell you what it thinks it is, and the Oxford scholars in England who've never had Kundalini, they'll make their guesses and their whatever, you know, their theories and you know, about what the Eye of Horus does, but it is the Kundalini, and eventually as they matriculate upwards into their development, they will come into that knowledge. But the Eye of Horus will come to a person. It'll come to you in your dreams. It'll come to you in your waking life. And it's not like the eye is going to blink at you, or, you know, you're not supposed to like so much communicate with the eye. But when you see it, know what it is. And that knowledge alone begins a part of the process that it's almost like the Eye of Horus is a key that unlocks a door or room in your Kundalini awakening process. And that process is at the same time a history lesson as you go into the ancient Egyptian schools, which are basically the Egyptian schools are firmly based in the Atlantean schools. And I know I'm going to lose some of you here when I say the word Atlantis. But it was real, and it occurred, and the forces that caused the dismemberment of that continent migrated to the different areas that were not sinking, and they took their technology with them. And the Egyptians took some of that technology, and the Maya, the Toltecs, Olmecs, they took some of that technology. The Iroquois took some of that technology, and some other human organizations took that technology. You know, and you can kind of see that through the preponderance of huge pyramids all over the globe, off the coast of Japan, off the coast of Cuba, in Bosnia, Herzegovina, and in the Egyptian pyramids as well. And I'm sure that if we wanted to find more pyramids throughout the world, we would find them. We would find them. And let's also look at a cone or some of the turrets that you have, the onion domes of Russia, the domes of Buddhism and the domes of Muslim and Hinduism. A dome is basically a cone, C-O-N-E. And a cone is basically a pyramid with an infinite number of sides. Okay? That's what a cone is, what a dome is. It's a pyramid with an infinite number of sides. In other words, it's a pyramid, it's a moving pyramid that's spinning so fast that you wouldn't be able to see all the sides. And so, if you want to know more about pyramid power and the power of cones, you can look at Patrick Flanagan, Flanagan. And Patrick Flanagan is a doctor, and he wrote a bunch of books about the pyramids and the force of the pyramids back in the early 70s. I don't know if you can still get his book, but I do remember as a young person reading his books and beginning to understand the levels of power through pyramids. And it's real. It's a real deal. You know, they didn't make pyramids accidentally or because they thought it was a cool-looking structure. It was definitely energetic modulation and materialization from these structures. And so when you look at the Masonic information, Masonic is all based on the Egyptian mystery schools, which, as I just said, are based on the Atlantean mystery schools. And you'll see that they use the pyramid and the all-seeing eye and all of that stuff. The all-seeing eye would be the Eye of Horus, which is the Kundalini. And the 33rd degree within the Masonic understanding is the Kundalini. So you can kind of see how this is wrapped already into our society and into our understanding. It's on our money. United States money at least, So we're already kind of living within the refinement protocols of the Kundalini, whether we know it or not. We as a society, as a world society, are living amongst all these sacred, huge sacred objects, these pyramids, these sphinxes, these obelisks. An obelisk is another. I mean, it's a very obvious Shiva lingam, for one. There are many, many, many areas of mystical intervention that are promoting and guiding and sculpting our spiritual evolution in many, many different ways. Even if you look at the Christian cross isn't so much about a cross. It's about where that cross intersects, and it intersects at the heart. And so Jesus, as he's crucified on the cross, isn't really advertising his torture. He's advertising where the vertical and the horizontal meet is at the heart chakra. And if you look at some of his other pictures, you see him pointing towards the heart. You'll see his heart lit up by a light, a halo around the heart. That's what he's talking about. He's not talking about drinking his blood and eating his flesh. Oh, my word. Lord have mercy. Let's teach everybody to be a cannibal, shall we? It's about the heart. It's about divine love. It's about receiving the Eucharist in a way that allows you to understand it. It's about love. He didn't give his body so that you'd have something to eat on Sunday. Okay? Rosemary, do you have a comment about that?
Well, thank you. Yes, very simply said. Yes. It's funny.
Sorry. Seriously, folks, I don't mean to offend any Christians out there, but there are meanings within Christianity that are not being given to Christianity, just like there are meanings in Hinduism that are not being given to the Hindu. There are meanings in Buddhism that are not being given to the Buddhists because you haven't reached that level of understanding yet. You will. You will. Through the process of spiritual refinement, you will eventually reach that level. And I don't care if you believe in reincarnation or not. Reincarnation believes in you, and that's enough. So if you have any questions about this topic, okay, we're on our fourth topic now. I'd like you to call 347-934-0026. Amelia, are there any questions from the chat group people?
No, Chrism, and it's very quiet there, and more people have joined us.
You all?
So
did I?
I think you did. Sue has joined us, Sue Homer, as has Vashti.
How are you, Sue?
Vashti.
Nice. Vashti, good. Hello, Vashti.
Yeah. And Julie is there.
Julie. I love that picture you posted, Julie, on the Facebook ashram group. Very beautiful, very beautiful. Wow, okay.
And Linda D is there.
Who's that, what?
Linda D.
Linda D.
I'm assuming Denny, but I could be wrong.
Well, hello, Linda. Hello. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you, Amelia, for forwarding, their presence to me.
Well, so Julie is typing now, so she's saying thank you. So with a smiley face.
Okay. I'm going to talk about something that goes against the grain of most Americans right now. I'm going to talk about prostration. 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 Look that up on Google or Wikipedia, or if you have an actual dictionary, page through and look up the word prostration. In the Kunalini context, sometimes you will be given to prostrate yourself. And I think this is where the whole idea of prostration came from. It's from the Kundalini. I have people practice something that is a physical form of Trataka, Trataka. Trataka places the person in a position where the base of the spine is the highest part of the body towards the solar deity or the sun. It is the earth lifting itself to the heavens, so that the heavens can bring themselves down to earth, and they join there during the Trataka at the base of the spine. This is activation Kundalini. Okay. As you do forms of prostration, the other form of prostration is to just literally prostrate yourself to the Kundalini, to your teacher, to that source of Kundalini information for you or Kundalini experience for you. I'm not necessarily advertising, oh, please prostrate yourself to Chrism, because really, folks, it's not that for me. I have plenty of people who do that, but it isn't anything that is required of you. It is, however, required of you if your Kundalini gives you that challenge, shall we say. Definitely for people in Europe, people in France who just, oh my gosh, never do that. People in the United States, oh my gosh, never do that. Well, I'm going to say, yeah, do that. Do that if you're in France. Do that if you're in Switzerland. Do that if you're in Spain or Germany or Sweden or Norway or Finland, the beautiful country of Finland. Do that if you're in the United States or Canada or Mexico or Australia. Do that if you're in any part of the world. If your Kundalini compels you to prostrate yourself to a symbol of the Kundalini or an image of a teacher, then do that. Do it without hesitation. However, don't do it in front of other people if you can help it. Most people will not understand what you're doing, and they may be afraid, they may be frightened, they may feel that you've been taken up by a cult, especially if you're doing it to a living teacher. Be very, very considerate of the people around you. Go into your bathroom, go into your bedroom, and do it that way. I mean, this is. If your Kundalini compels you to do this, it wants you to do this, and you need to do this for the health of your Kundalini equation within you. You need to do this, okay? Don't run away from it because it's foreign to you or because your ego is shrieking at you, no! Never bow down to another human. Here's Rosemary has something to say about this.
Thank you, Chrism. I'm remembering it was maybe in December, November even, when I'd get to the evening practice before I went into bed, and a number of times, and I even mentioned it to you, and what does that mean? And you said just perhaps that my Kundalini wanted me to do that. But it was a very strong desire just to be flat on my stomach, on my face. I would find some way to prop up my forehead, and it was the desire to go deeper, and like I just wanted to be absorbed by the earth, and it was a desire, but frustrating as well. But I was glad to know that it was in a realm of something, quote, normal, and in the terms of a Kundalini path. And I imagine as I got up, I was given something for that. It didn't happen every day, but significant times enough. And it gave me something. I can't tell you now what that was, but it did.
I think it gives you a gift of recognition that you have indeed followed the urging of your Kundalini, and that will often come in forms of bliss too. Bliss is often used as a reward type of thing, although it's not Pavlovian. It's not like when you ring a bell, well, you're going to start salivating for bliss, right? Would that it were so easy. ring a bell. Oh, I got bliss. That would be very nice. That would be very fun. But yeah, this is not very easily accepted by others around you. So be very considerate with who is around you. And if you're a Kundalini awakening man or woman, and your spouse is interested in Kundalini, or wants to be supportive of your equation, it doesn't automatically mean that they're ready to have it awaken in them. And try as you might, and fantasize as you might, and they may want to have Kundalini so much that they even go into having little mini kriyas or little things of that nature. And I don't want you to think that just because you have it that everybody around you is going to get it. It's not the case. Not everybody's ready for it. They shouldn't get it. And be grateful for your process, but don't feel that you need company in that process. I know it's nice to have, and sometimes spouses are in competition with each other, and it's like, well, if she gets to have Kundalini, well, then I should have Kundalini too. I'm the spouse here. But it doesn't mean that you get to have the Kundalini. It may mean that you need to support somebody who's having the Kundalini first. It may mean that you need to pay that tithe, that agreement, that you support a person having Kundalini. It's not necessary that everybody has Kundalini who is married or who's had a boyfriend or girlfriend. You don't need to have that kind of company. And if you do desire that kind of company, that's something that the Kundalini and you are going to work on from an egotistical level. Okay. It's the ego that wants company, not the Kundalini. It's the ego that feels lonely, not the Kundalini. Okay. For any questions about this, if you'd like to talk about this with me, you can call 347-934-0026. Or if you have any question about your Kundalini awakening process, feel free to give us a call. Covering some ground today, I tell you. Right now, it's 4:07 on the west coast of California, and I want to go back a little bit. I want to go back to our Fukushima program. I made a mistake with regards to the type of iodine to purchase and to take for yourself, and it is not atomidine. Atomidine, through the Edgar Cayce information, is excellent for the body and for boosting the body immune system and for boosting the thyroid and for just basically helping the body in general realign the glandular secretions. But for radiation protection, it's potassium iodine that you need. And I'm going to suggest Lugol's, Lugols, potassium-based iodine. This is what will help you defend against any iodine-based nucleotides that have been released into the Pacific or into the air from Fukushima. So it is potassium iodine that you're going to want to look at. So please know that. I wanted to make that correction. Let's see. I just finished up the Shakti pot for the winter solstice, and I want people to know that I do Shakti pot, distance Shakti pot, every solstice and equinox, and only on the solstice or the equinox or at the seminars. With the seminars, just by coming to a seminar, you're going to sit in that radiance, and that radiance will actually begin to give you a Shakti pot as you're listening to the 16 hours of information that I give during those seminars. And it's not all didactic information, i.e., it's not all you sit and listen type of stuff. That would just put me to sleep, especially if I was watching me giving a seminar. It would put me to sleep in the first 5 minutes or less. But for you, there's experiential refinement practices that are given in the seminars. So I don't want you to think that it's all just sitting there and getting information. Information is great in the Kundalini. It is power. It gives you an understanding, and that understanding can obliterate fear. And I'm all about taking away some aspects of the fear, not all aspects of the fear. Some fear aspects, it is your job to take away. It is your karma to take away. So not all things are going to be done for you by a Kundalini teacher, and shouldn't be done for you. That Kundalini teacher should be able to see in you what areas of fear and trauma and terror you need to experience. Did you hear what I just said? Sometimes you need to feel that terror. If you don't feel terror, how can you meet fear? How can you come through your fear? How can you accept your fear if you don't have fear? Fear is a very organic thing. It's very close to your heart. It's very close to your head, and it's definitely close to your mind and your ego. Okay, so some fear will be lifted from you with information about the Kundalini, but some fears will not. And new fears will be created just to see how you handle it. Kundalini, once it's up, is never, ever put away. It's up, it's up. That genie it's a one-way exit out of that bottle. And you can't put the genie back in the bottle. Now, with Kundalini, if you know your process is it can be put on hold. It'll still be up, but it won't be as active as it once was, and it won't. It's not all about driving you into the psych ward. Okay. When I say that you can't put the genie back in the bottle, it doesn't mean that the genie doesn't know that you're not ready to have this. Mentally, you're not ready egoically, and it'll start giving you tests of your mental mind, tests of your ego body, tests that come in the form of fear, tests that come in the form of opportunities to give love, tests that come in the form of opportunities to experience greed or power or domination over others or over the environment, things of that nature. These are all tests. These are not, you're not achieving so much as you're being tested. Okay, you're being tested with how you handle the fear. I'm going to switch subjects now, and I'm going to come straight over to some things, because there's plenty of people on the internet that say they have the Kundalini. There's so many out there, Reiki teachers and Kundalini teachers and people that said, oh yes, I've been to the 7 bardos and I've gone through, into the ultimate light of the angels, and I've been face to face with God, and we've, all of this stuff. If you hear a Kundalini person or, a Kundalini person bragging about how far they've awakened and what power they've done and all of this stuff, walk away gently, politely, but I would suggest that you not listen to this person. This person has not yet fallen away from self-aggrandizement. The Kundalini does not support self-aggrandizement. The ego is supporting self-aggrandizement. Self-aggrandizement is bragging about where you have gone with the Kundalini, boasting about how powerful or how knowledgeable or about how wise you are within the Kunalini. This is not the Kundalini that does this. This is the ego that does this. And so let that be an addendum to your levels of discernment when you're looking at a Kundalini teacher or somebody that you feel is a teacher that you'd like to follow. See how much self-aggrandizement they put out there. And if they're basing a lot of it on the accomplishments that they feel that they have done with regards to Kundalini awakening, I will suggest that you politely yourself from those teachings. You don't hear me saying, oh, yeah, I've done this and I've done that, because you know what? I haven't done any of it. Kundalini does all of it. Okay, do you understand? If you have any questions about this, call the number 347-934-0026. Do you have anything to add to this, Rosemary?
That topic? Well, I would say I thought about this. That being with Chrism is always just very touching because it is that radiance that he mentioned. And that's confronting sometimes. And at the same...
How do I treat you in the truck and when I see things going a little bit out of balance? What happens?
Well, you tease and you it works, and then I just end up having to laugh because I don't see I don't see that side of what I'm saying. I'm seeing it from my own ego or my wanting to explain or
be right.
Yeah, be right. Thank you. And I learned last October when I was here, and also learned probably every day, that whatever I say to you, if there's a correction and I say something about it to you, thinking that it's wise and enlightening, and it probably is more drama and all that kind of stuff, that I'm digging myself deeper into where I'm being corrected, and it's just kind of funny.
Well, I have to say, just for everybody's knowledge, Rosemary is quite wise. You don't look at the segue. Going into becoming a nun at the age of 16 and staying in that refinement opportunity for 25 years, and then this isn't working for me anymore. And then, getting married. And then, looking at the Kundalini and, all of a sudden being drawn into the Kundalini. I mean, this, there's quite a long range from being a Catholic nun to walking the path of St. Francis of Assisi or St. Philip of Neri or St. Teresa of Avila or St. Hildegard. It's a very, especially nowadays when everything is being so denigrated through the practices of people who we're counting on to be spiritual mentors, and they turn into spiritual tormentors. I.e. some of the priests in the Catholic Church or some of the priests in any of the churches. I'm not going to just pillory the Catholic Church, because I know darn well it's happening in all the other churches, including the Muslim churches and the Christian churches and the Hindu churches and the Buddhist churches. People are acting out their ego-based desires upon the people who are coming to them for less than ego-based desire studies and religious study and spiritual instruction. So if you come up to a teacher that is basically bragging about what they do and how they do, I will suggest that you gently and politely walk away from that information. We don't base our personality and we don't base our own relevance within self-aggrandizement. This is not allowed by the Kundalini. Yeah.
The one thing that I had wanted to say is that I haven't said this to Chrism, but it's clear to me that he is a gifted man in that spiritual realm, and through that, brilliant man knows more about all kinds of things that most people I know don't know. And that's where I run into things as well that I say are funny and just has a lot of stuff to poke fun at. But underneath that, I mean, it's wise, brilliant, and the heart of it is his heart. And that's no matter what he says, or even if it's harsh and brusque, that loving person he is never gone.
Well, thank you. I don't know about the wise or brilliance, but I do have a lot of love for people, and I do hold that for people. So moving onward, thank you, Rosemary, for those kind words. Moving onward, I want people to understand that any of you are welcome here at the ashram, just like Rosemary, just like Amelia, just like any of the other people that have come out and visited. However, before you come out, I would like you to read the safeties and to begin a strong practice of the safeties, just like Amelia has done, just like Rosemary has done, just like many people who have come out here have done. You begin to practice the safeties on your own first. You begin to establish a relationship with the Kundalini by practicing Kundalini awakening safeties first. Before you come out here and sit in radiance, the radiance is going to unlock certain levels of toxins within your system that need to come out. And oh my gosh, sometimes they come out hot and heavy. So you need to establish a communication with your own divinity primarily. Because this is what is going, you come out here and yes, you'll sit into my radiance, but it is your own divinity that radiance is waking up. And so you have definite manifestation from that spiritual connection. You'll definitely get levels of detoxification happening. A lot of you, I get slandered a lot because people don't agree with how the Kundalini wants things to be done here. And I will tell you right off the bat, right now, this is a very, very hot environment when it comes to Kundalini activation, Kundalini awakening, Kundalini phenomena. This is a very hot environment for this. Rosemary just had some of that heat coming to her. And I want to say, she's long past, at 73, she's long past any kind of menopausal, hot flashing or any of that stuff that a lot of people will attribute to Kundalini. So, I'm having Kundalini. It must be a hot flash. I'm 52. Neither, and I want to bring Amelia into this as well. Amelia, come on, would you?
I'm on, Chrism, yes.
I would like you to respond to some of that too. How do you feel with regards to your practice of the safeties, and I would like I would like you to comment on prostration. I would like you to comment on Tritaka. I would like you to comment about practicing the safeties before you come to the ashram.
Okay.
You go, girl.
Okay.
Go.
Okay, here I go. Well, I'm still, my head is still stuck in the heat and menopause, me being around that 52 mark. except I'm not menopausal yet, imagine that. But the heat is amazing.
Your phenomena goes far beyond just heat, though.
Oh, yeah, it does. But it does indeed, yeah. But, okay, so to get back to the safeties, I suppose my journey started with getting into the safeties very gradually. And I think that's the way to do it. Begin to read the safeties and become familiar with them. As I would have started off practicing, say, forgiveness. And what's that other word that when I used to write down different things. So I began to do it different, slowly to begin with.
The recapitulation, that?
That's the one, yeah. That was very powerful for me at the beginning of my, when I became aware of the safeties.
Explain the recapitulation. Explain that, would you?
Yeah, well, for me, what I used to do was I would think of some things that had occurred that I needed to forgive in my life. So there were particular things, of course, that everybody has that stand out. So I started with those, and I wrote down what had happened. And as I began to do that process, I came to know what it was that I had to forgive, and I began to write my forgiveness. And what was revealed to me also during that was how much I also needed to forgive myself. And that was a new thing for me. And so writing it down was extremely helpful, and then I used to burn the paper. And then as I began to do that process, I also found that things would just come up then of their own. And I began to work through not just incidences, but work through forgiveness with particular people. And it just opened up a huge area for me around forgiveness, and I got really deeply into it from my past. And then it became something that I started to do in my present. I mean, you constantly talk about, forgive the person that pulls out in front of you in the car, and that's exactly what I started to do, forgiveness in the moment. And so working on the safeties, and say just again the forgiveness aspect from the past and the present, just sort of unfolded and became part of my everyday practice. And then as time moved on, I didn't need to do the recapitulation anymore. So I don't do that anymore now. But the forgiveness still is a constant thing with me. And so the other things, the things like tolerance, when Kundalini comes up and amplifies, and definitely scenarios and situations can become so amplified that I found my tolerance, in a way, it's exactly what's challenged. Like I became intolerant because the situation was very difficult, for example. Well, then I would choose the safety of tolerance. It was the last thing that I wanted to do. Do you know? So what is it that I'm feeling intolerant? So I choose tolerance, and I would actively become tolerant, more understanding, more compassionate within a scenario that would be happening for me, and that isn't always easy. But it's like what you were saying earlier, it's the commitment to doing it. And once I began to do that and add that safety, that became something that goes on in my life now all the time. It's still not always easy, but it is something that is part of my life, and all the other safeties that are there as well. And so those those need to be practiced, because when I arrived to the ashram, things are amplified, and detoxifications and stuff within me and my ego and what my ego, likes to do and control would come up to me. And if I didn't have the safeties as part of my refinement process, and with the amplification and with being within the radiance, it becomes extremely, it could explode. And it kind of has on occasions, but it quickly comes back with that anchor, And so I think if anybody...
She once exploded half my mustache off.
If anybody is moving along, if anybody is going to go to the ashram, I would really recommend, or I really would suggest that, the safeties have to become part of what it is that you are doing before you get there. I would really recommend that. Plus, they're a wonderful benefit and a blessing in my life. Another thing that I have found, when the Kundalini awoke in me, and I had what I call the Kunalini event, that was a very devotional event for me. I mean, it went on for quite some time, and so because as well of my past experiences as a child with, I suppose, mystical sort of visions and things, I have this connection to being devotional. And so very early on in my process, exactly as Rosemary has described, I would find myself, prostrating myself to my Kundalini, being totally given, to wanting to surrender to my Kundalini and wanting to find some way that I could do this as within my physical body. I mean, I can do things like I can give service, I can be loving, I can be more tolerant, I can be all of these things. But the Kundalini is felt within my body to such a degree that my body also needs to do something itself. And when I say body, it is my physical body, but I mean all of what is in that of me. And so the prostration was a way of doing this for my physical body, as Rosemary said too, of connecting to the earth, of surrendering myself to the all that is. I mean, there is such a freedom that comes and such a union and a connection that occurs between the divine and the physical body that is divine as well. Prostration is something that I really think people should open themselves to considering, because I think in society it is something that we don't consider anymore. Yes, we do consider it. I mean, again, within the Catholic Church, prostration and all this sort of thing goes on, but people don't even give it a second thought in lots of ways. It's just like some old routine that used to happen way back in the 60s and 70s, and we've objected to all of that sort of thing, and we've become, we've lost a lot of things. And I think prostration is something that offers us a great deal, that connection between us.
If you're interested in prostration, at least the way I'm teaching prostration, send me an email to kfireforall@yahoo.com. So that's kfireforall@yahoo.com, and I'll send you the link for the prostration video to be done. I wonder, Amelia, let me ask your opinion on this. You too, Rosemary. Do you think I should just open up that prostration video to the public? Let me have some responses from the chat group. What do you folks think in the chat group? Should I just open that up to the public? Let's see what people have to say about that. What do you think, Amelia?
Will I talk about what the prostration video is? The one where you stand. I mean, one of the things that I would have done earlier on, I mean, there is the prostration of just lying upon the ground, but there is also the other one of standing and lying and standing and lying. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, the one that where Brad, I showed, Brad was showing everybody what.
Yeah. Okay. I think you should. I didn't realize it wasn't available.
I haven't seen that, so I couldn't comment, but it would seem helpful.
Well, Vashti has just typed in, I think it would be helpful, Chrism, and I can see a few more people typing.
Okay,
and somebody has just logged out.
they ran away so soon.
I think so. Oh dear, I probably caused that. Julie says it would help.
All right, then I'll go ahead and open that.
And then Julie says it's a good video. Yeah. And somebody else is typing as well.
Thank you, Vashti. Thank you, Julie.
Sue says, yes, I would watch it.
Sue, thank you. And Sue, thank you for coming. I think this is your first live show, I think, isn't it? Thank you, Sue. Sue Holmer, everybody.
Yes, and also Spirit Bird says, hi all, I think you should post the video, Chrism.
Very good. Thank you, Spirit Person.
Okay. So anyway, that's kind of me and how important I feel prostration is, and what a gift it is that we give to our physical body when we allow it the freedom to do that. So I'll be quiet now.
Oh no. Well, thank you, Amelia. Thank you very much for giving us your take on these things. I want people to have multiple takes with this, because they can listen to me till the cows come home, but if what I'm saying or the quality of my voice or the quality of my energy just doesn't work for them, well, maybe some of the people that are taking my instruction and following these teachings that I'm giving, maybe that will help open a door for somebody. If it helps one person, then it's been worth it. Okay. If you have any questions about your Kundalini awakening experience, feel free to call us here in the last 25 minutes. It's 347-934-0026. Now, I want to say something to Vashti. I still have your little thing that I have to mail to you, so it's coming your way. And with those of you on the Facebook group, the Kundalini Awakening ! You might find some of the topics that I brought up today are being experienced there. Certainly the self-aggrandizement issue is being expressed there. So for those of you that belong to that group, or for those of you that wish to belong to the group, please go over to Facebook, go to groups, go to Kunalini Awakening ! That is that little, it's like an I with a dot under it, and join that group. I would like to add something to this now. I'm running into a lot of people that they want to do ayahuasca. They want to do some sort of an entheogen or an herb or a drug that gets them into the Kundalini quick. And I don't want you to come into the Kundalini quick. It is not a race. It is not about coming into this type of a process that can literally destroy your life. If you're coming into Kundalini through the use of a recreational drug, you're putting yourself in a jar of needles and shaking that jar. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. You do not require ayahuasca. Now, if you're going to do a drug in order to experience Kundalini, which I don't recommend, but if you're going to do it anyway, regardless of whether I recommend it or not, do the ayahuasca. Okay, and do it with a real shaman. Do it with a real shaman, somebody who knows how to sing the ceremony. It's a sung ceremony, i.e., la 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 la, right? It's a sung ceremony. It's not somebody where you just pass out the tea and then pass out on the mat. Okay, go down to Pucallpa in Peru and find Ishmael, Ishmael. Ishmael is the son of one of the most prominent shamans in the region down there, and he himself is a shaman. And I went with Brad and another man named. Very good ceremony. He sings it. He knows finds out how this is working, and better than some. I mean, we also went to two shamans down there, with a dolphin shaman and Ishmael. And the Ishmael experience with the ayahuasca was the strongest. So there's that. You don't need marijuana. You don't need meth. What's it called again? No. Oh, no, not methadone, but methamphetamine. You don't need meth. You don't need crystal or any of that stuff that you see on Breaking Bad on TV and all. That's not that I have TV, but I see it advertised. And I know that it's about the production and distribution of methamphetamine. You don't need that. You don't need cocaine. You don't need anything but human body. Kundalini is already there. But you have to follow the procedures to get it going in you. And taking a drug and expecting to walk that short path, it can work for some people. I know some very experienced, very beautiful, wonderful people that took acid in the 60s and had a Kundalini awakening based upon that. These are leaders in the spiritual movement at this time right now. Some of them, and of course I'm not going to mention their name, but yeah, I mean, you can do it that way, but it's a perilous journey. It can kill you, and I'm not going to recommend it. I'm going to recommend you do the safeties. If you do the safeties twice a day, like Rosemary was talking about, that's a standalone activation sequence, meaning standalone, meaning just by doing that alone, you can begin to activate your Kundalini. Okay, and this is to me is the best way to come into this consciously, not with a buzz. Come into this consciously. Okay, you don't need marijuana. Now, marijuana doesn't hurt you. I've never supported marijuana as a stepping stone into the Kundalini, but it doesn't hurt you. Unless you get overly addicted to it, and then, of course, your lungs, if you're smoking, are going to take a real hit on that. And your seventh chakra will also get burned out if you're doing a lot of marijuana, because it basically opens up the chakras, and that buzz you feel is the energy leaving your body. It can burn out the seventh chakra, and I don't want you to have that. I want you to have a full 1,000-petal opening when your Kundalini comes, okay? You don't need to take a drug. Now, if you're taking medicines for medical reasons, fine, as long as they're not SSRIs, selected serotonin reuptake inhibitors. I don't recommend anything that's an SSRI, anything at all, okay? You don't need to have your brain reformatted vis-a-vis the pharmaceutical industry. Okay? If you're going to have your brain reformatted, let the Kundalini do it. It knows far more than the pharmaceutical industry, and it doesn't have that greed impulse either. You know? So let the Kundalini work on your activation sequence. Let it come from your own internal processes. If you practice the safeties, you're spinning with the 5 Tibetans. And oh, by the way, with the 5 Tibetans, you're supposed to feel dizzy. That is not an error side effect. When you spin to the right 21 times, or if you're just starting, you only spin 6 times, you're supposed to feel dizzy. It should encourage you to lay down on your back and begin the second Tibetan. That's the way I always teach it. So once again, you can go to Chrism.Kundalini on YouTube, and you can find the practice to do after the 5 Tibetans and 2 separate videos on how to do the 5 Tibetans, showing yours truly doing the 5 Tibetans. And yeah, well, you know, it's just one of the other videos. So go ahead and check that out and see how that works for you. I'm not going to ever say, I'm not going to give you medical advice. I don't like SSRIs, selected serotonin reuptake inhibitors, because of the reformatting, the rechanneling, the regrooving that they do of your brain. Because I sincerely know that humanity has not reached a level of information and wisdom to know its own self. Humanity does not know its own brain. Pharmaceutical interests do not have a very detailed understanding of the human brain and what it's there for. They don't even recognize Kundalini. They don't recognize, the chakra system. They don't know anything about the energetic anatomy. And so they're not formulating their drugs with as much knowledge as they need to. Maybe they will in the future, and I put that prayer out there. But right now they don't. They do not. And neither do your MDs know about the Kundalini so much. Now, out here on the West Coast, Sonoma County, I have a friend who is a directing MD, and he's actually on the Yahoo group. He never posts, but he reads it. And I met him in Trader Joe's the other day, and we're talking, and I'm asking how he feels, about the information coming through on the group, and he says, well, my teacher and I, we discuss some of the things that the people on the group go through, and the one thing that I would only recommend is people need to go slower. And I agree with them 100%. It is not a race, and people like Foshji and Sue Holmer and Amelia and Julie and Magdalena Deus, and these are people, Rosemary, these are people that have the Kundalini right now, coming up through them. It's working on them. And they know that it's not a race. If you don't want to hear it from me, maybe you email them. Talk with them. Join that Kundalini Awakening ! And converse with them. They're on that group. They'll talk with you. Okay? It is not a race. It is not something that you need to go very fast with. Matter of fact, sometimes the slower you go, the better things are. Okay? Now, I've got 15 minutes left. For anybody that would like to ask a question, feel free to call the number 347-934-0026. Do you have anything that you would like to add, Amelia? Amelia, did you go to the bathroom?
Can you hear me?
Yep. There you are.
Yeah, okay. Let me see. I suppose something that comes to me that has come up in one of the groups has to do with refinement, actually, as well. It's, I really feel that everything that occurs for us is an opportunity for refinement. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
In a Kundalini context, and that, refinement can't really be, well, it can be ignored, but when we ignore it, the cycle that we're within just continues, and that I found for myself anyway, that when I'm in that place, refinement demands that I make changes, and that I have work that I need to do, self-work that I need to do, and that's not such a bad thing. Sometimes I can be in a scenario. I mean, I know now I look at things differently than I used to do. And what I would have perceived before as being, in inverted commas, bad, I don't see anymore as being bad. I see it as an opportunity for refinement and an opportunity to do work. And so, in a way, I won't use the word suffering now, but in a way it ties into what you were saying, that, in that context, in the context of the Kundalini and refinement, everything is actually good.
Everything is good. It's all good, as they say. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
But it can be challenging, but it's all good.
It can.
Now,
it is.
I have and Rosemary's reminded me of this. So before we go off the air, I have a little thing that I take people who come out here to the ashram. Sometimes I'll take them to Yosemite. Sometimes I take them down to Yogananda's ashram in Los Angeles, which is 6 hours away. Sometimes I'll take them to the Kundalini forest. I'll take them to the ocean, maybe Shasta, maybe the desert. One of the places I take people typically is one of the California missions called the Archangel San Rafael, and this is one of the missions that Father Junipero Serra set up in the 1800s in order to benefit the spread of Christianity among indigenous nations, which that is a whole karmic topic all by itself. However, as much as I tell you about bad entities and entities trying to possess you and doing these types of things, I will take a person down to this little chapel that is off the side of the main church. And in this little chapel, there is a very, very positive entity that hangs out in this chapel. And it hangs out right near this one pew section of this chapel. And I have taken people there since my very first Kundalini Awakening seminar that I did in San Rafael. And I'm going to ask Rosemary, what did you feel, Rosemary, when you went into that chapel?
I could feel the energy of something. I don't have the words as you just described, and you had told me that, and you gave me some directions, and it's very strong. And
how did it feel? What did it do?
It was energy. I don't have the words there.
Where did it interact with you on your body, if anywhere?
I think around my heart chakra.
Okay.
And that area.
And how did it feel? Did you have an emotion?
Emotion of peace and love.
Basically, yeah. So basically, heart chakra works. So if you do come out to the ashram, and once again, I extend the invitation to all of you to start the safeties first and then come out to the ashram. If you mention the entity in the chapel at Archangel San Rafael, then I might just take you on down there. Now, Rosemary's writing something else here. Let me see that.
Tell him about the bookstore lady.
Oh.
I can't.
No. That's okay. You can do it if you want.
Yes. There's Chrism mentioned a little bit ago about the Yahoo group and the Facebook group and the community of Kundalini people around the world. Well, in San Rafael, we went out walking and to see some other things, and went into a bookstore. And he has more to tell you the value of the bookstore, but if he would like. But we went in, and I didn't give it much of a Kundalini presence, and I just kept walking. And then the woman who I would think was the director, the owner, the manager, something, looked to our way, and she said, "Oh, you're the Kundalini man, aren't you?" And she said, "I've seen lot of your videos." So, and from that, she helped Chrism find for me a beautiful CD and something else I'm not remembering now. But it was a touching moment to know that there are people out there, a lot of people that none of us will ever know or meet, who are also sharing in this Kundalini life in that way.
Yeah, we went down to the Amelia will recognize the bookstore down there in San Rafael. Don't you? You remember that, Amelia?
Yes, I do, Chrism, and I remember the chapel very well as well, and the entity, and yeah. Yeah. We also went to the Tibetan places and things like that, and so we when a person comes to the ashram, we travel. We travel to different places. It's all, some of it is meditation, some of it is devotion, some of it is just taking a walk with me around the town or something like that. Sitting in the car is that's an experience in and of itself. But we're running. Some of it is allowing, is giving. It's important to say this too, because at least it was for me, because I'm very busy. I was living my life. Now, when I come to the ashram, it gives me the opportunity, and like when I started to go there first, to open my eyes in a way that I might not have done at home. And when I come back, the way that you guide that, through very ordinary things like traveling or going into a bookshop or different things that happen, there's a follow through on that, back in my life as well, where change has happened, where I've opened my eyes in a new way, where I perceive things, where I allow the Kundalini to actually show me things through you and through my own experience. I see things in a different way, having been to the ashram, and that happens every single time I go. I want to go back now.
You're welcome to come back. I would like to thank Amelia Santara and her husband John O'Connor, and her children for allowing this broadcast to even exist. The reason you're hearing this is because of them. It is their fault.
Well, it's an honor. It's like what Rosemary said about the people, that lady that you met in the bookshop. And I know what the difference having been guided to Chrism and to that source of Kundalini information for me has made in my life. And my husband knows it, because when it has been fantastic for John, because when we actually came across Chrism's teachings and when we came across the experiences of other Kundalini people, my husband could see how normal I was, actually. In the sense that, he was aware of a lot of weirdy things that had happened to me. And so he's very supportive as well of the information being there, and that's why we do this. And today on the Kundalini Awakening group, exclamation group, another lady has come because she accidentally, in inverted commas, came across your YouTube video. And that's what it's about. It's about networking and providing opportunities for people, because if you're meant to be to hear this information, well, then you'll be guided to hear it. That's how I feel. And so there's the radio show, and there's the YouTube, and, you know, there's all the different venues that you provide, Chrism. And all we're doing, myself and John, in supporting this is just supporting this so that, you know, people can arrive here and receive in that way. So it's an honour. You know, and it's also, I suppose, in a way, it's also as a way of gratitude for what we have received, you know, so thank you.
Well, thank you. And I would like to thank Rosemary Goliath. I'd like to thank Magdalene de Deus. I'd like to thank Foshji and Julie and Sue Homer and everybody who took the time out of their day today to listen to this broadcast. I would like to thank everybody who has sent a donation. It is very much appreciated, and it keeps this little ashram here going. And I tell you what, it is a little ashram. We've got 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, so just FYI. You know, we're very considerate of each other here with regards to personal space and bathing and washing and eating and all of these things. And so you're welcome to come and visit here. You're welcome to inquire, I think, of Amelia Santara. She has a lot of good information, and if you prefer a beautiful Irish accent and a beautiful Irish woman, then you listen to her. You talk with her. Communicate with her. She's as wonderful in person as she is on the radio or on the internet. She really is. And I encourage everybody to come to one of the seminars. Come to Rosemary's seminar. Come to Amelia's seminars. I mean, seriously, folks, bring yourself into this condition. It is absolutely stunning, beautiful, amazing, beyond words. I mean, you know, some people may think that I can string a few words together into a sentence, but my gosh, the Kundalini is what's doing that. I take very little credit for it. I mean, I got to take some credit because I went through those 23 years of the process, but it's the Kundalini that's doing this work. It's the divine. Everybody who comes into this is becoming a divine human being, a saint on this world. And I know people that go, oh, I know saint. Gosh, if you look at my life, I'm no saint. Well, if you look at St. Augustine, this guy was a captain in the Spanish army, and, you know, he was killing people every day just for fun. Okay? You can be redeemed. There is redemption for people. And if you can forgive yourself, then you're halfway there. And if you can forgive yourself, then maybe you can help others forgive themselves. Maybe you could be a symbol of that forgiveness and that tolerance and that gratitude and that grace. I invite you to do that. I invite you to do these things. And so with the 1 minute and 45 seconds I have left, I would like to say thank you for listening to this edition of Your Kundalini Awakening Experience. And, you know, hopefully it has helped at least one person. And we will be back next week. Same time, same channel. I hope to see you all there. Amelia Santara, thank you for co-hosting this with me.
You're very welcome. Goodbye, Rosemary. Goodbye, Chrism. Goodbye, listeners.
Rosemary, thank you for being my guest.
Oh, thank you for having me as your guest.
Okay, everybody. Bye-bye. See you next week.